Welcome, Spartans, to the March Podcast Evolve Book Club, part of the Rated M Gaming Network. I'm your host today, David, and with me is Aaron.
Hello.
And a surprise super special guest, Crazy Chris.
Crazy, you say? Well, howdy, everybody.
He's also handsome, apparently.
Yes, I noticed that appeared in the script.
Yeah. We shouldn't really Chris, it's kind of one of the kind of flaws of letting Chris have our scripts.
No, I'm going to take away his editing privileges. That's the answer.
Poppin'.
Oh, don't break my heart, guys.
Yes, you can only look but not touch.
But sometimes I do great updates to the scripts.
Sometimes. Well, that's true. That's true. You do good work, Chris. But the compliments. Just so many compliments. Like, he's amazing and awesome and handsome.
Okay, that's enough buttering up the guest.
It's all in the script. Okay, so this month, guys, we're tackling Escalation Volume 2. If you bought them in volumes, which I didn't. I bought them separately.
Which I did.
We're talking... Did you? Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. We have issue 7, issue 8 to 10, and issue 11 to 12. So 8 to 10 is probably my favorite kind of segment of the whole Escalation series. I love it so much.
It is.
Aaron has the correct answer. Chris has an incorrect answer.
Mine's is issue 7. That is the best issue in this. Come on, guys, get it right.
You just like that lovely trippy dream sequence. That's all you're all about.
I'm interested to hear all the explanations.
Steve is the best. The talking couch. Come on, guys.
Spoilers.
God damn it. So, if you guys haven't listened before, you should all know, obviously, we're going to spoil the crap out of these issues. You've had your fair warnings they'll be giving out. Please have read these issues before you listen to this podcast. It's very important.
Yes, please.
So, all these kind of issues, they're essentially the same author, which is Brian Reed, and you should kind of know him. He's one of the lead writers, and he does a lot of the story stuff as regards Halo 5. And I think he does... Does he do all of Escalation? I know I see his name a lot.
Well, Duffy Boderu, I think I butchered the name, but he did some of the writing as well.
Yeah. Duffy Boderu.
I even put that in the script because
Sergio
that was missing.
Arino, it's the illustrator. That's great. These are all published by Dark Horse, as most of us all know. The formats are both physical and digital. Digital ones are issue by issues, but I think you could buy them in volumes as well, digitally, as well as you can. Their physical comes in volumes. I know Chris did volumes, and it sounds like Chris, you also bought them in volumes. Did you buy them physically in volumes?
Well, I got it physically in volumes right here. I'm holding it. I'm like flipping it in the air right now.
So did you? I can't believe that, Chris. For 1 second, did you waited for the hard copied volume to come out?
No, he didn't. He bought the digital as well, didn't you?
No, I didn't get the digital. I went into comic book shops and sometimes read them early.
Oh, you cheated! Oh, Chris, you're one of those guys.
Yep.
Boo! It's not a library.
Yeah, it's not a library, Chris. People need to make money.
I know people.
So you're stealing from friends. It's not just the strangers you're stealing from. That's bad form, Chris.
I do have some of them, through my Halo room. So I got issue 7 twice.
I don't know if that quite covers the damage you've done, Chris, to the comic book franchise.
But we might forgive you depending on how much you can convince us about issue 7.
True. It will never be enough. I'm just going to say that straight away. But we'll let you try, Chris.
So will we get into this one and just do a quick roundup of... Right, the brief synopsis, and this is very brief because I'm not sold on it either. Thorne's having some issues because, as we all know from the start of Spartan Ops, he comes from New Phoenix, he has family there, and they got wiped out during the Didax attack, and everyone was turned into Prometheans.
Even though his parents died on Alluvion, which was, is the location of a few Warzone maps in Halo 5.
Yes, that's important to say. He lived with his grandparents. He was raised with them, not with his parents. And this whole issue is just him coming to terms with, his nightmares about not being there for his family and trying to face his demons and go back to his, childhood home. That's sort of the main bit. I did like the Master Chief action figure that he had within the room. And there are some nice little things in it, but I just think it's a bit of a real slow burn episode or issue, considering later they give him 2 issues with a bit of action. It's like this random, just single issue.
It kind of is now, but I guess we can kind of think about it like in the retrospect of thinking they were building up Thorne to be in Halo 5.
Well, yeah,
So this
that
is
is
probably
true.
some of his background to kind of his motivation going into what his part in the game would have been.
And it also shows Spartans as humans also. I mean, they're still people. They still have feelings. They're not like normal Spartan 2s. Oh, we're all gruff and tough. We can just get them through the mission with very little
But
human interactions.
it does have that scene where they're standing in the crowd of people and they're like, "Oh, what do civilians do all day?" And your man's like, "I have no idea." So they are pretty far removed in terms
Yeah.
of like, yeah, they're not Spartan 2s kind of like totally isolated, brought up in like crazy situations, but like they have obviously still very far detached from the rest of humanity.
But they do have crazy dreams.
Tell us about this, Chris, because this is your major selling point to try and convince myself and Aaron and the rest of the public that issue 7 is worth it.
After he's done, like, getting over his grandparents' death and all that, he starts having new dreams 3 weeks later about a talking couch named Stephen.
And
And
this
this is the
apparently,
best character ever.
I get the feeling that maybe that was slipped in there and no one actually read that panel and that just got approved somehow.
It's still the best character ever.
The
No
talking
one
couch
can
named
prove
Steve.
me otherwise.
He's no lines of dialogue. He's no character development. Where's his story arc, Chris? No, you've lost me.
Yes, what
happens.
motivated him to be a couch?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really not sold on this issue. It's even if Thorn had have been one of the members of Osiris instead of Buck, I just think it's just such a bit of a
We might have gotten more.
yeah.
Leading into
I was
it
just
if he
underwhelmed
wasn't
by
cut.
it.
I mean, I understand what Chris is saying, that it does show another side of Spartans, like outside of their armor, what they do, how they get on, and kind of like the downtime. And it is kind of interesting to see some kind of reaction to what actually happened on Earth. Like, it's very quick. I think does it begin 48 hours afterwards? Is that when they're like for after the end of Halo 4, the new Phoenix event?
Oh, that one's just when there's all like dust everywhere and we just see soldiers going everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And then it's like a couple of months later or something like that, where it's been like the ceremonies happening to reopen the city.
Yep, that's in the issue.
Like 8 months or something like that, yeah.
8 months ago, when the new Phoenix event occurred, we did not know what to think or how to react.
This is after Spartan Ops, I think. That's
Yeah,
Spartan.
yeah, this is-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is when the Infinity's back for repairs because, as usual, it's been busted up.
Been busted up. I mean, it is interesting to see this kind of like perspective kind of after the fact of kind of what's happening, the aftermath. That's the word I was looking for, of the end of Halo 4, of the end of Spartan Ops. And maybe it was weird for you and me, Aaron, because we were buying them individually, and like you're looking forward to your issue, and what you get is just all this kind of retrospective kind of thing, and you're kind of disappointed, thinking you're looking for a bit of action, you're looking for a bit of Chief.
I think that probably, if I'd have read this as part of a volume, I wouldn't have as meh an opinion of it. Yeah, but getting this was my week's issue, and it was just sort of like, okay, he played a violin, he put his ghosts to rest, he's away again to continue the fight.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things, though, that I've seen in this is that there's a civilian warthog.
Oh yeah. Well, it's army colored. It just doesn't have a good amount of turret, but it does have the green.
Yeah, there's
camo.
a few little things, like you said. There's Thorn's Master Chief action figure.
Yeah, his grandmother got it for him right after he
joined the
became
Spartans.
inducted into the Spartans.
That's kind of weird, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's kind of all I have on this one.
Yeah, let's move on to the better issues.
Yeah,
The real issues.
I think if people will remember, we did dedicate a spoiler episode to this specifically back not too long before Halo 5 came out. We
The
did
next
some
72
chats on
hours?
it. Yeah.
Did we?
We did one back in the time it was you, me, and Drew, I believe.
Well remembered, my friend.
See, if not, I'm sure someone will correct me, but I know we did just before Halo 5 came out. So
Maybe we did. We kind of like did a kind of preemptive. This is the situation
so
in the
it saves
universe.
us going over the whole of the synopsis in great detail, but the short version
You
of
can
this
skim
is
the highlights essentially. Yeah.
yeah, this is picking up straight after the events of Halo 4. Chief is back. He's with humanity. He's being debriefed by Oni, and then Lordhood sends him on a little mission. I think he's sent as an observer, but he immediately takes charge of the team again, and this is when he's reunited with Blue Team.
This to me was a huge kind of moment. I didn't know this was coming. I don't know if you did, Aaron or Chris, but when I was reading this and it was like, holy shit, Blue Team's back, I immediately got very excited and very hyped. Just for that one panel where it shows the 3 team members.
it got really exciting, and then it got to,
It got
this happened.
Kelly and Linda mixed up, isn't that right? They didn't have named them
Yeah,
like
they
scout
get
and
their roles
sniper.
mixed up.
Yeah,
But Spartans are trained to do different things, so
that's
it's really
true. But
not
if you were
that big of an
to,
error.
no, it's not huge. But like, if you're classifying them as someone like, is Fred close quarters combat? Is that what you would have said? Would you have called Linda? You would have definitely called Linda a sniper as opposed
Yeah.
to a scout.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would agree with that actually.
Right.
At least Halo 5 rectifies it by giving them the correct weapons.
The correct weapons. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So let's see, they met up with Blue Team. They go on their mission, which is to find out,
What happened to Black Team?
yes, what happened to Black Team and the scientists they were left behind. And I know this is a big issue of contention for a lot of people in the universe, and I kind of feel as well. Like I didn't like Black Team, but they get killed off in this issue,
I
and they
feel
get
they could have
slaughtered.
done more with them, and the only stories that we can actually do with them now is stuff previously. But
Yeah.
as Halo canon has mentioned before, is we know what's going to happen to them, so any story involving them is going to have no tension whatsoever.
And like I will admit, they're not necessarily the most likable characters, but still, as a Spartan 2 team to go out in the blink of an eye seemed a little sort of sad. You know, it feels like someone might have really had a grudge against them, just like we're writing them out now and that's it.
Yeah, I remember talking about this before, is in saying, I know I didn't like, when we did the book club for Bloodlines, I didn't like Black Team. I found them a bit immature in how they acted. I'm like, to me, that's not how I would have pictured like Spartan 2's behaving.
No, they're the poor man's Grey Team. Like, Grey Team are what you expect misfit
Yeah.
Spartans to be. They're still professional, whereas these guys were kind of jackasses.
They were like, I don't know if they were going for some kind of light-hearted kind of comedic kind of Spartans, and like I was just really like
Comedic
not
Spartans, no, I really don't see them as comedic. I see them as tragic Spartans, just that, oh, they loved each other, oh, yada yada yada, oh, they got beat up by Red Team.
Yeah, they were weird. They're like teenagers that never grew up. It's bizarre, but
So yeah, well, I would agree. Like with Chris, I do feel sorry for them now, because I'm like, they died like such.
yeah, I think
Offhandedly.
that was a poor end. They should have had something a bit better.
At least it was by the Didact and not crawlers, as what we originally thought originally.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, the scene where the bodies are discovered and like one of them is decapitated. I can remember looking at that panel going, holy shit.
Because I remember getting the comic originally, and it was saying, oh, there's crawler feet next to them, and then the comic just ends like a few pages later, and I'm like going, oh, crawlers killed them. Oh, how disappointing. And that's how the comic ended, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I
That's
think that's
issue
near
8, is
enough
it?
the
Yeah.
end of it. So let's see what happens then. With Blue Team land on the planet, they find the crawlers, they engage a few of them, then they find the pit where the composer was docked, and they go down into it, and they find the composer's
Abyss.
what's the name for it? The composer's abyss. I was going to say the composer's forge, but that's next.
The composer's abyss is a terrifying idea, just thinking about.
Yes, it
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
reminds me of like if you ever watched Event
Constantine.
Horizon, and they have the walkway that takes you to the engine room with the blades in it, except instead of blades, it's the souls of composed humans spinning around you.
Yeah, or like, did you ever see Constantine when he goes to hell and it has like the wall
Yeah.
of like bodies and arms and stuff all pulling?
So
Pulling
it was a
out.
little messed up because you never really stop to appreciate that all these people are humans waiting to be converted.
It would have been a whole lot more effective to put Thorn in that room. Because just think about it, Thorn being in that room.
Having actual people he knows in there.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
Yeah.
because that would have been a traumatic experience and would have made episode 7, well, not why am I calling it episode?
It's David. He's
That's
contagious.
my effect.
It would have made issue 7 more effective in a very, very tragic and dark way.
Yeah, they didn't put any detail into that into the people, though. They were just like kind of slightly formless, generic human forms. You wouldn't have like associated any kind of identity with them. But if they were to go to that detail, I would agree that would, from Thorne's perspective, that would be a lot more emotional, as opposed to, I think it's only a few panels that they literally walk through it. I don't think they even make a comment on it.
They get to the portal on the far side, and they come out at the composer's forge.
Chris, do you know this? I'm going to ask you, is it a planet or is it a facility?
It's a planet.
It's a planet, is it? Okay.
Well, it's a city on a planet we know
Yeah,
of,
it's
isn't it?
clearly a planet later on. I mean, I'll let you guys get to that, but Yeah, it's
Oh, they
clearly a
dropped the.
planet.
Yes, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, they get there, and then it switches to a section with the Didact. In issue 9, they go back to a flashback of Black Team. They're on the surface of it's Gamma Halo, isn't it?
Yeah,
Gamma
Gamma
Halo, yeah.
Halo.
It is Gamma Halo, just before I forget my halos. And they see these things falling through the atmosphere, and they take a wee stroll, and they find the sort of smoking remains of the Didact. And they give him a bit of a kick, and they're like, they sort of talk a bit smart about him, and then he gets up and he slaughters everyone.
Yep.
And that's when we have that message that's sent by the science team that, we're being attacked, they're slaughtering the Spartans, which is kind of eerie when you think about it, but it happened anyway. And then the Didact moves from the Halo to the Composer's Forge, where he meets the monitor for the Forge. It's Static Carillion.
Yep. Or he meets Static Halo. You meet Static on Alpha Halo. No, not Alpha. I mean Gamma Halo.
On Gamma, yes, that's right. He comes through. He's looking to find the
Abject Testament.
of the installation. Yeah, and then he meets the Didact, and they basically strike up a little bargain and a deal for the Didact to get a new composer.
Presumably, it's one that we have never actually heard of before, and we might actually see Static Carillion again.
I thought the deal was for a Halo.
I know, but we don't know why the Monitor made a deal with the Didact in the first place. It's just
what
been
does the
mentioned.
Monitor get out of it? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Because we know what the Didact gets out of it, but we don't know what the Monitor got from it. See, a mystery of Halo.
I don't know. I assume what the Monitor got out of it was to keep the Didact away from him in the long term, because the Static Carillion admits on more than one occasion that the Didact's a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
You get that feeling from him anytime he talks later to Blue Team and that about the Didact. It's just like, we made a deal, he's a bit dodgy, he doesn't really like humanity. He broke his deal, I'm happy to turn on him now,
Well, it seemed like that, like the mother was aware of, let's say, the current political affairs of within, like the Didact wasn't in favor at the end of the kind of the Forerunner life. Like he was sent away, like whatever, he was imprisoned essentially because of his actions, and that like it wasn't sanctioned what he did.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that sort of come across in those conversations. So later, Blue Team arrive, Static Carillion sort of meets them on the surface, just as they've discovered there's 6 composers arranged on the planet's surface, and he starts to give off about the Didact breaking their pact, and he started to construct more Prometheans.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Didact pretty much attacks them.
Yeah, the Didact engages them there, and there's a bit of a running firefight, and Blue Team are on the losing end of it until the Monitor steps in.
And 6 composers on the installation, 1 that was destroyed equals 7, which is a 7 reference.
Ooh.
And I'm wondering, was there one for every ring?
Maybe,
were these a backup set of composers?
I got the feel that they were 2 different plans, because didn't the Didact, his plan was Shield Worlds, and the other kind of side of it, the builders
his
were
plan
about
towards
rings.
the end was the Promethean army.
Yeah.
They couldn't be converted, they couldn't be taken over by the Flood, and they could stand up to it. So, towards the end, when he lost the plot, he wanted everyone converted, and he wanted soldiers. So I could see a composer on every Halo
as like a kind of backup, because the Halo will kind of
Yeah,
wipe out
and
the
then,
life you'd use to convert.
Each composer, in theory, linked to their own Halo, and that particular composer's Abyss, and that's why the Didact ended up back on that Halo and not a different one. There's nothing, that suggests there isn't more than one active one.
Oh, that's kind of interesting, because didn't they found that composer on
Yes, that's
that
the
ring.
composer. They found that, and then they took it off the planet, or off the Halo using Infinity, and
Cool.
moved it to the space station, and that's then when the Didact got a hold of it.
Oh, I never really considered that, like that they'd be linked to each other, or at least why would he end up back there?
That's my theory anyway,
Yeah.
and then that would explain why the Composer's Forge would have portals to all of them, because they would, if you were making new composers or replacing them, you'd need to be able to get to each Halo to drop off replacements.
That's quite interesting.
I see.
Well, it's what I take away from it anyway. Let's see, we go on to just at the very end of this fight, the Didact, they're fighting away, the Didact's about to take out Kelly, and this is probably, I think, the best scene in this issue. Chief sneaks up on him and goes to lay the smackdown.
Don't they escape first?
No, issue 9 ends with them fighting him. Oh, wait, hang on, did I miss a bit?
Because don't they, like, they're fighting on the planet and then they run through the teleporter and then Didact comes after them again,
Yes.
and then
that's right.
he's about to kill Kelly, and Chief sneaks up behind them.
Yep.
And
Yeah, the chief sneaks up behind him and just stabs him right in the eye.
puts a fucking dagger in his eye. It's such awesome.
And the Didact just like shoves it off like nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
okay,
then
that happened.
that episode
That
issue
issue
ends
with John held in the air by the helmet and the Didact's crushing it.
That's such a
Because
great
the
ending.
the next issue opens up with, we see John, he's suspended in the air, there's a crack in his helmet, and you can see one of his eyes, and he's having
Quite
a
clearly,
flashback.
Yeah, he's having a flashback all the way back to when he kind of meets Dr. Halsey and all that. Or not exactly meeting Dr. Halsey. We see Dr. Halsey and Captain Keyes in it, but we just see him playing the game that leads up to him meeting them.
The King of the Hill game, yeah, it's cool.
And he's not ready to die.
Yeah, that's basically what he says. Is he's not ready to die. He's going to keep going. Blue team then attack him, and he uses John as basically a weapon and throws him at Fred and takes him out. And knocks the two of them down, and then Linda and Kelly, they start shooting at him, and that's when they reveal that the Didact can adjust his armor to compensate for any weapons that are attacking him. He's kind of like the Borg.
Which is kind of convenient.
They were using Promethean weapons at this stage, so I wonder, is he just adapting to his own weapons? I mean, can you adapt to like a physical projectile other than shields?
I don't know. Well, Static Carillion does say that it's foolish to engage a Promethean because they can adjust their armor. Although he manages to save Blue Team because he takes them out with his eye laser beam.
Laser beam.
Yep, and then teleports him.
It's funny, like he's cleaning up with that laser beam. He
does.
saves Blue Team back on the planet with his eye laser beams.
Oh, that's right. He holds off the Prometheans as well with a lot of that.
I know it kind of ends. Oh no, actually no, keep going. Yeah, no,
it doesn't go too much further. He tells Blue Team that he sent the Didact to the Halo's control room, and when they ask him why, he sort of says, "Well, he would have killed you all and got there eventually, so I just I jumped a step and put him there already." And then John has this idea that, we're going to kill the Didact in a new way.
Which is pretty cool.
It is, yes. So then it finishes up. John teleports into the control room and he has the activation index with him. And him and the Didact have a little exchange about,
Which I find it a bit weird. The Didact's just standing there going, oh, you're going to activate the Halo array.
I had never considered this other than when I was rereading it today that, the Didact is just standing there as John casually moves forward, activates the ring.
It's something to do with the Didact being a little confused because they say at the start of this, the Didact's standing in the control room and he's trying to figure out why is the Monitor helping the humans yet seeming to help the Didact more, He took him to the control room in front of everyone, but
yeah. Well, I imagine he can't do anything without the index, so maybe he was just kind of waiting to see what Chief would do. But it's a pretty cool way to go.
It is. Chief basically says, no conventional weapons seem to be able to kill you, so we're going to try this instead. And the Didact says to him, would you fire the Halo just to kill me? And he says, well, I thought about that, but Static Carillion came up with a better idea. And then he plunges the activation index into the control room console. And then the Halo ejects the entire section of the ring.
And then that leads to the most controversial thing ever.
It
the
does,
Didact's
because I
getting
didn't
composed.
think this originally. Yes, I did not think this originally.
Well, he gets
someone said it
digitized. It says that on the universe entry.
What does it say? Does it say digitized? Is that what you said, Chris?
Yes, it says that. I can open it up right now if you really want me to.
It was.
Back to the episode myself. I just didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was just open to debate because all you see is like a smoking sort of his armor and he's shouting and you're just not quite sure. I figured he was just... Because they say he's temporarily contained, he doesn't think he's permanently,
Like, I had thought, I do remember you telling me it was before, Aaron, but I had thought that he was vaporized. Like, that's it, dead. And then John says, oh, he's contained. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? But I'm actually looking at the panel now, and I can see the kind of squares. I know kind of what you mean now.
Yeah. Well, you see, I kind of figured he could have survived re-entry because even in the Forerunner books... There are a couple of times when people in Forerunner armor survive some pretty serious crashes and dings,
Okay,
the armor can preserve them, so...
Oh, I can see what's happening. They crashed them into the composers. That's what happened.
Yes, they launched the control room into the composer's forge because Static Carillion made a different plan with John that he would take out the Didact and in return he could have the Halo. And that would give him new purpose in life. Yes, that destroys the composers, but also takes out the Didact in the process. apparently.
That's what's happening. Okay.
Here's a fun
Yeah.
fact. The Spartan Strike game happens right before this happens, because after this comic is over, or this section of the comic is over, the Halo just vanishes with the monitors. Like, okay, so Spartan Strike must happen before this to even happen.
So what's Spartan Strike? I know it's the twin shooter, the second twin shooter game, but what's the story? Where's that set? What's the setting of that?
Pretty much one part of it is set on Gamma Halo before all UNSC forces leave Gamma Halo to go back to New Phoenix. So it's like, oh, okay, New Phoenix is under attack again. Yay.
So okay, so it's before the end of Halo 4, essentially. So were these units on Gamma Halo when you were on the station fighting for the composer?
We assume so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing to say or hint that they wouldn't be. So that's it. There's one last little bit to this issue, which was the bit I liked the most. It takes us back again to... It's 72 hours after all this has happened. They're back again. John's been debriefed.
Got new armor, which is actually finally a Gen 2 armor called the Mark VI mod, or Mark 6 mod. Six mod.
Go.
That's a weird little fact.
And he has a quick conversation with Hood where he sort of congratulates him on taking out or killing the Didact. And he says, I'd consider him contained. And then this is the part I like, where Hood orders John to go with Blue Team and take some R&R and chill out after the years of combat. But instead, John goes back to Blue Team and they ask him, what's happening now? And he's like, Hood's give us the okay to roll out again. And they say, what are we going to do? We're going to go wherever we're needed. And then it finishes with like a one-page section. It's a conversation between two ONI operatives. Names are redacted.
Annoyingly enough.
And they're talking about how Hood has completely flipped out because the Master Chief reassigned himself without permission, and he's just going on mission after mission after mission.
Essentially dealing or grieving with the loss of Cortana.
Yes, he's just thrown himself into his work one after the other, and they ask the question, how long can someone keep at that pace before they break?
But it's good, like the intro of Blue Team on Halo 5.
Because this would take us up to the point where in season 1 of Hunt the Truth, he's doing these kind of missions when he's going to the embassy, when they talk about, he plummets in through the atmosphere with his ship virtually on fire and tries to save everyone and moves out again. This would be during his Hellbent session on doing his work.
Yeah, that's where all the kind of oh god, how could I possibly name the podcast was taking place. All those kind of events was during this time period.
So that's kind of it. So what do we think?
So Aaron, me and you love this. These 72 hours arc is my favorite of all Escalation.
Yes.
I really, really like it. I love Chief. I loved seeing Blue Team because I wasn't prepared for it, and that really surprised me, and I was really happy. And that was kind of the first. I think we did a shit ton of speculation coming out of this. Oh, Blue Team's be in the next game. That'd be awesome. Blah blah blah. But Chris, I found out recently, was disappointed.
I was mildly disappointed.
Oh, Chris.
I understand all the good things about it. John meeting
But how
Blue
does
Team
it
again.
leave you overall disappointed? Because overall, I would be
Well,
excited.
there's the Black Team. Nothing
Okay.
actually majorly happens. I mean, if you were to play Halo 4, you could imagine the Didact getting composed regardless. So pretty much nothing majorly happens in it.
I think Blue Team is the major.
I don't know. It hints that the thing I like about it, like I sort of agree with Chris. There are things I don't like. Definitely, Black Team is one thing, but they do hint that Static Carillion knows something everyone doesn't, because he took the Halo ring to get repaired somewhere, and he didn't go back to the Ark.
Or will he go back to the Super Arc? I can't remember what it's called.
The Super Ark should be gone.
Yes.
Is it?
We'll leave that for another time.
Yes, we have books to come for that, but as far as I know, there's the primary arc shouldn't be a thing. The secondary arc at this stage is still
Kinda
this takes
a thing,
place.
a
This
heavily
takes place
damaged
after
thing.
Hunters in the Dark, doesn't it?
Yes, this takes place after Hunters in the Dark.
I suppose in theory, then yes, it could have gone as far as there's no way to know.
Also, yeah, I mean, it says repair doesn't necessarily mean they're going to the place where the Halos were built. I mean, you could be repaired at another installation or...
Your cable TV is experiencing difficulties. Please do not panic. Resist the temptation to read or talk to loved ones. Do not attempt sexual relations, as years of TV radiation have left your genitals withered and useless.
Okay, guys, Aaron just had to step away, so we're going to just finish off the end of this podcast. Just myself and Chris. on a little, as we like to call, a Halo date. So this is kind of, I know. So Chris, I don't think
Just
you've
the two of
had a
us.
Halo date before?
Nope.
Oh yeah. Well, this is kind of like a little one. This is just a taster, and
Just more to come then, I guess.
Exactly. So, you were kind of disappointed a little bit, just kind of in terms of there was no major kind of events as you saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy it. It's just nothing majorly happened. I was just mildly disappointed with it.
Okay. Well, I felt that general feeling is how I felt about Escalation as a whole.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, like, it was full of great parts, and this was my favorite part of it. And overall, I was like, okay, nothing really major happened. But I guess when you're tied into like the major release being the game, you probably can't do a whole lot in terms of that. Like, because I mean, they obviously do a great job of tying all the worlds together. But when you've got a lot of the escalations over characters you may not care too much about, that wouldn't be the main Halo characters, if I dare may say that. It kind of can be sometimes hard to get into it. So the last issue in this volume, if I'm correct,
It's 11 and 12, and it's called Exposure.
Yeah, I might need your help on this one because I never got a chance to reread it. I only got as far as 10.
Well, in universe, it's called Operation Whistle Stop. You get that from the Halo 5 limited edition, the dossiers for everyone that you get. Like, side note, Snappa was part of the operation, but she's not in the comic. But regardless of, that's a side fact.
Okay. I think I have that edition, and I remember the dossiers you're talking about. But I think I read them when I got the game, but I think I was like too excited to get into the game. I kind of skimmed them. I never actually went back to them. Which is kind of interesting. Of course, you would notice that kind of crazy stuff.
I remember this one time. It's just because I remembered hearing about it in the thing, and I just checked the wiki just to be sure.
Yeah. Okay. Fair play. So this kind of is a whole different little story arc that takes place with Thorn and another Spartan. Is it Ray? Spartan Ray?
Yeah, Spartan Ray.
Who was in the previous kind of issues, or the Volume 1, I guess she would have been.
Yeah, Volume 1.
Yeah, she went away with Lasky during...
Everyone likes Ray. Like, I mean...
Really?
Like, a lot of the people I know really like the introduction of Ray in this comic series.
I think she's only in the comic, if I'm correct.
Yeah, she's only in the comic, but a lot of people like her introduction into it.
She was pretty cool. She was looking after Lasky, if I remember, when they were doing... when the kind of the talks between the Sangheili and the Brutes were kind of underway.
Yeah.
Did she kind of look... Yeah, she went away with Lasky. I didn't think she had a whole lot to do. Like, I knew that their kind of what they were doing was kind of important, and she kind of did some cool stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot to her. But she gets a lot more fleshed out, I think, in this kind of 2-issue arc. Against, I can't really remember much of the story, but essentially, Ray and Thorn get sent on like a kind of recon mission, if I'm right, to a surface of
a recovery mission to recover like a vial and a canister. They have to recover a canister from this elite, who we will learn about later on. I will not spoil with their name.
So we have like essentially like a traitor elite. I say that in inverted commas, but he's working with Oni, who
Spoilers.
I actually really like. Yeah, he's a great character. I actually like him.
Yeah.
So essentially, they go down to this planet, and there's a whole. I think you're saying they with the laboratory. What is the canister, Chris?
Oh, the canister is apparently, in inverted commas, like some sort of bioweapon. Inverted commas, because that's not actually going to be. It's not actually a bioweapon, but essentially, these two Spartans are sent to go there. They get caught by Kigyar or Jackals.
I remember this. Yeah, they get kidnapped, and well,
Thorn one of them gets kidnapped. Thorn gets kidnapped. Ray just goes around and does some actually kind of interesting stuff. Instead of destroying a jammer like what some Spartans would do, aka what we do in Spartan Ops, she just walks away from the jammer and then is able to contact everyone saying, "Hey, Thorn's being captured."
Is that what happens? She just gets out of the range of the jammer?
Yeah, that's what it is. She just gets out of the range. She doesn't destroy it. She just walks out.
So yeah. So I think, is it a trap? Is it a setup, or do they just get captured because they're kind of a bit clumsy?
Nope. It's a trap. Like,
it is a trap. Okay.
Thorn gets captured because it's a trap, and the elite takes Thorn to like the Kigyar ship mistress, just so that he can get. So that Ray would go, "Oh, hey, Thorn's being kidnapped. Send more Spartans over so we can start a war," pretty much.
Yeah.
The ship mistress goes, "Let's start a war."
Because that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, Oni is all happy about this war starting off. This is going from memory here and looking back from the comic back and forth.
Exactly, yeah, I'm having quick looks at there. But I see an interesting panel. Do you see how the Sangheili disables Thorn? He has this little device he attaches to an armor that looks kind of like the device that Locke had to lock down Chief's armor. It's got a similar kind of profile, little kind of disc.
Yep.
Obviously, this is I'd wonder if they based that technology off this device. I'd never seen it before.
Well, I'd say it's based around it, but then I'd also say that Hunt the Signal creates the I cannot speak right now. Wow, creates the device in Halo 5.
It's human developed.
It's a mixture of that and Hunt the Signal.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember that much.
I can discuss Hunt the Signal in more greater detail later on, but right now
we'll just stick to this one. We'll
yes.
do some more. I wonder if we get another one of that. No, we won't get into too deep. So essentially, there's kind of like a little kind of mini war kind of sparking off. So like Infinity is kind of brings in, and then essentially the kind of calls in the cavalry pretty much.
Yep, which includes Tanaka, but we do not see Tanaka.
Really?
Yeah, it's in the Halo 5 limited editions, which we hear about Tanaka.
Oh, that's in the kind of that she was part of this kind of what's the operation?
Yeah,
she was involved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it at the start of this. That's how I got the Operation Whistle Stop.
So I think Rey just kind of hunts down this. It's just single Sangheili, isn't it, that she's chasing the whole time?
And we also get the first appearance of the Covenant Fringe.
Oh, who's involved?
Well, there's the Covenant Fringe. We get the Yonit. We get some. Well, yeah, we get Yonit. We get some grunts, and we get some humans.
So is this before Nightfall?
Yep.
Oh, I did not remember that. I remember there was humans. Oh, I'm looking at them there now. Yay, selling captives from the Covenant Fringe.
Yeah, because we originally
worlds involved.
We originally thought that was bad art. Originally, everyone thought it was bad art. It was like going, we seriously hope that they're just deprived humans.
Yeah, I'm looking at the panel now, and I think I would have maybe skimmed it and assumed that they were all humans. That maybe their heads were shaved because they did the same skin color, same kind of body type. They had the same kind of profile, but
yeah,
kind of around their skull, and it looks like there's a grunt and all chained up as well. That's kind of interesting. So maybe like the humans will probably be like maybe a new acquisition as opposed to they've obviously stopped killing them all, and there's
or just prisoners. I mean,
slave labor.
Slave labor and all that, because that's what it's called, slavers. They're even selling captives from the Covenant Fringe.
That's cool. They have grunts and all the slavers. Oh, that's really cool. I like that. So in the end, I'm trying to just skip ahead in the episodes.
Well, they've
not great listening. Sorry, guys.
Well,
I'll blame Aaron for leaving.
Goes and rides. I think it's a ghost or something like that, and I can't.
There's a bit of it. Yeah, there's a ghost chase, and then she catches up to them. Like Rey follows him and eventually catches up. So what's the purpose? Like, why is he capturing Thorn? Do you remember?
Oh, he captures Thorn to get so that the Sith Mistress starts war with the Infinity, so that Infinity just wipes them out.
Oh, he's he's setting up the slavers pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's exactly. Oni is playing the Infinity. That's actually one of the reasons why I like this issue, because it brings back the Oni we know from past Halo stuff.
Yeah, but they're like weapons dealing and kind of arms dealing in the background, kind of to set people up. And like, I actually really liked that part of kind of the Halo 5 trilogy where they're tagging weapons and then sending them out to see where they end up. That's kind of cool. I like that a lot. And it has a kind of cool space battle, which I'm looking at now. I remember with broadswords and longswords involved and some pelicans. I'm
just sad that the ship mistress just kicks the bucket just like that. It's like, oh, she died. She would have been a great character to bring back and put into the games, but nope, she's dead.
I like that. Yeah, I'd like to see the kind of the Kigar more fleshed out as their own kind of race. You know, we always see them in support or in 1s and 2s, but it'd be great to see them as pirates.
Well, you have seen them expanded upon season 2 of Hunt the Truth. Hunt the Truth. And my God, that was the most sickening image I've ever seen.
That was brilliant. I love that. Yeah, when it describes the ship and the condition it's in. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see if that have like a main antagonist as being a Kigar ship mistress, because they sound so cool. The whole kind of space pirate vibe.
Well, you have seen the boa stew that they made. I know everyone should have seen that, or majority of the people should have seen that, because it was an image in Hunt the Truth. It was sickening.
I remember exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you saw the animated version of it, you just saw the eyes flickering and all that.
That's awesome and sick, but awesome.
Yeah.
And then pretty much now I'm skipping ahead in the actual comic. Palmer comes down to save the day with her twin pistols,
Yep.
blowing her way in, and essentially they're still chasing the Sangheili. But it's pretty. It is cool. I like it.
Yeah, this was actually one of my more favorite parts of the comic. I mean, if you were to look at this as a standalone, I'd like this as well.
Yeah, it's pretty fast paced. Like there's a lot happening, and like it's action packed, I guess is what you could say.
As I just said, though, I do wish the ship mistress lived. Well, I'm calling it a ship mistress. I'm probably wrong in the naming of that.
Ship mistress? Isn't that what you would call her?
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's what
calling
they
her.
refer to as like a title.
I think so. Well, regardless of, she's dead anyway. All depressing as that is.
That's pretty much. So in the end, like I'm looking at it there now, Ray catches up to the Sangheili and then like Oni swoops in and like
captures
escorts
him, inverted comma.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even restrain him.
It's like, okay, that is a thing.
And then it just kind of cuts to a brief kind of debriefing.
Where like, Oni played us big time.
Yeah.
Don't let us forget that. I hope Lasky forgets that. It'll be totally hilarious.
If he forget, yeah. Well, you think like a lot of it is kind of like a lot of the comics are kind of Lasky learning the ropes of his position, of his command, in terms of like now he has to deal with Oni and the higher brass and the politics involved.
Yeah, because at the start of the comic, it's pretty much in volume 1, it's like he's only been captain of the ship for about like 8 months or something like that, or I could be wrong in that.
I can't remember where it is, but it's in some lore somewhere where it talks about not Osman, I can't pronounce the name.
Saren Osman or
not Saren Osman, but the one who did the job before her.
Got
she loved
put into the Infinity.
Exactly. She had him in there to kind of supplant eventually.
Yeah.
And like come up the rank. She looked at him. I don't know if she looked at him as kind of like a person easy to manipulate, or if just what they were thinking. He was kind of a bit naive that maybe they could pull off missions like this and he wouldn't be aware of it.
Well, yeah, that as well.
We're looking for,
because from what we've seen in Halo 5, he goes straight into like just accepting a mission that I don't think what's his name again, that guy that says no you shall not just give me that chip now in like Halo 4. I can't remember his name.
Oh God,
yeah, I don't think that guy would have let I think Osiris go to Sanghelios and all that.
No, he's very much by the book. He was anyway, yeah. And he was very anti-Spartan as well. Well, Gen 2s, I suppose.
Yeah, Gen 2 is like saying they're like an outdated bunch of them.
But then I also get the impression that like Locke wouldn't have cared. Regardless, like Locke seemed to be also, he held himself a little bit above.
Only to the bone, as Veronica would say.
That's a great way to put it. Overall, how did you feel about Volume 2, Chris?
I loved issue 7. I am still staying by the Steve is the best character ever.
I hope you get more Steve, Chris. Just for you, like, just to have it there.
Yes, I hope so too.
And
come on, 3 for 3. Come on, Jeff. Don't break my heart here.
So, I'm not exactly sure. We'll probably do Volume 3 soon enough, I imagine. We'll probably get you back for that, Chris, if you like. If you'd like to do some more of this work. I really liked Volume 2. As a whole, mostly because of the Chief arc that I actually really, really loved. Wasn't mad about issue 7. I understand what Chris likes about it. I'm not a big couch lover like Chris is. The final kind of arc then was kind of action-packed and a little bit interesting because it shows a lot of different characters interacting and the kind of different factions. And it is good to see that like Oni being Oni. They come in at the end and they have this whole kind of like running schemes behind the kind of behind the curtain of kind of what's going on, that like Lasky and like the UNSC is very upfront while Oni is absolutely in the shadows manipulating everybody to their own ends. And I really liked the idea of a Sangheili traitor, as it were, like, but someone working with who has no compunction at working with humanity.
Yeah, but we'll find out about that in about 2 volumes time.
Yeah, he gets much fleshed out later on. I think he appears in other media as well. Is he in the boy?
Nope.
No, am I full
Nope.
of crap?
Just
Full of crap.
just
Okay, fair
volume
enough. It's
2 and
I'm
volume
just thinking
4.
of the later volumes of Escalation. So I know Aaron loved this as well, and he was a big fan of the same arc as I was, the 72.
Yeah, I remember talking to him about that.
He's a good fan. He has the correct answer, unlike Chris. So with that, everybody, we might just leave it there. So it's a nice quick one, or I say nice quick one. We probably went on for a little bit longer. So typical, our short episodes are almost as long as our normal episodes.
Yep, it was still fun regardless.
Yeah, well, it was fun. We haven't done this a while, and I haven't been on the show in a while because I've been very lazy and busy and whatnot. But absolutely, Chris, thank you very much for joining us and for staying on. It's always great to have more people in the proper real time zone.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So
It's always nice to be here also. Anytime, if I'm able to, just ask and I will come.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And actually, great shout out to Aaron. He obviously does great work behind the scenes and organising all this kind of stuff when the rest of us get lazy and fat, which is what we are, just in case everyone's wondering. So with that, you can obviously, I'll shout out the usual kind of stuff. So thanks for listening, everybody. We are Podcast of All. You should see us on Facebook, and please like us on iTunes. Give us some good, nice, lovely reviews. Aaron's gamer tag is Perpetual Big AC. I am Kanan Cerberus. And Chris, do you want to give your details out? You don't have to.
Well, I am CIA391. If you want to add me. I'll
if you want,
answer any questions if I get any.
You might do. And Chris is quite a lore crazy person. Is the way I kind of think about it.
Me crazy? No.
Yeah, you got stuff going on, Chris. You got stuff going on. So I would say thank you very much for all your work, Chris. You do enrich the group greatly with your efforts. So thank you very much.
I try my best.
Also, I thanked you in the previous episode, but while you have you here, awesome fucking work getting us up on Halo Nation Wiki. Sorry.
Halopedia.
Halopedia.
I'm trying to get Halo Nation, but that might take a little while longer.
That's cool, but that's just great to know that we're up there, dude.
Halopedia
that's awesome.
And a few other hubs that I put up have all this details up, so...
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Chris. So from that, guys, I might just leave it there. Chris, thank you very much, and evolve.
Evolved. Just more to come then, I guess.
Oh, yeah.